Now then, we're going to put the buttonholes in. People are always a little bit scared of buttonholes, and they're right to be scared because some machines don't do them so well, and there are a few tricks to do it right. So I'm going to show you how this is done on my electronic machine. So first I mark down 1 centimeter from the top so I know where I have to mark them. Bearing in mind you don't have to use my marks. You can put the buttons anywhere you like that you think is good. I would make sure that the top button on the placket is about 2.5, tops 3 centimeters from the top. And then I'm going to put a pin in at the end of my buttonhole because most electronic machines work backwards, and so you don't mark the beginning but you mark the end. If you have a mechanical machine you can of course do it the other way around. Now I'm also going to measure the distance between my stitching lines, and that's in my case 2.5, and then I divide that by 2. Now I don't actually need to do that in writing, but anyway it's 1.25. So you find half of that, because optically that's where you need to be. So if you've gone a little bit further over with your top stitching, still make sure that you're in the center between those. So now I'm going to mark it with a pencil. There are a lot of gadget things that I really like, but all of mine are in storage. So if you haven't got anything else, use a pencil, not pen that's air erasable. Just use a pencil. Come on, nobody's going to see it, and it washes out. I wouldn't use tailor's chalk because the mark is not, to the point enough, unless you've got a little tailor's chalk pencil. That really works well as well. But make sure it's a white one, because if you use a yellow one, that might not even wash out. I've had that, and that's really annoying. So I mark all of those, and then I can take all my pins out, and the top one needs to be 2 millimeters over from where you've got the ones on the placket. And again, that's central. Now put your button into the back of your foot. I have to say that on a lot of sewing machines, the button will come out hugely bigger than it needs to be. So check your buttonhole first on some scrap fabric. If you're using a puff machine, I'm absolutely in love with this now because it's a perfect buttonhole every time. Put the needle down exactly where your dot is. Make sure that the edge of the buttonhole foot is parallel with your stitching line or the line of the placket there, and then just let it do its thing. Now the sensor on the side, which has these arrows, every time you touch it, it will actually disable it. So I've just done that now, and what would happen here is it wouldn't even stitch a whole buttonhole, it'd probably only go halfway. So what I do when I'm not sure whether I touched it, I will turn off the machine and turn it back on and reset it, because there's nothing worse than unstitching a buttonhole. So you can see me do that here. And then I just let the machine do its thing, and it comes out perfect. So I do really like this. I was a little bit scared of using this. I was so used to my mechanical puff, and now I think it's great. But the sensor is annoying, I have to say. So it's best to have the fabric on the right hand side, so it's nowhere near the sensor. It can't be avoided though, unfortunately, for the top part and other things, but then you have to really hold the fabric down, and I'm going to show you those as well so that you get a really good idea of how I do it at home and get round snags in the automatic buttonholer. There we go. Last one, make sure it's right on the button. There. Straighten it out, take your time. Nothing worse than your buttonhole not being in the right position. And now I'm going to do the top one. And here you can see that I hold the fabric down. I do not want that collar to touch my sensor. In fact, it did on the first thing. I maybe should have put this in the video, but it would have been just too long if I left all this in. But my sensor went off and I had to unpick it. Now for your cuff, you actually want to start from the back going forwards again. So I have to measure where the front is, and that's 1.5 centimeters over. That's usually a good measurement. And then I just put my buttonhole that I've done on so I can see how big it is, and I mark that. And this time on the one cuff, I have to have the fabric on the left-hand side, and so I'm really holding it again, you can see it, to make sure that the sensor is not compromised. And on the other side, it's a little bit easier. I just have to hold it steady, come back on myself, and my buttonholes are complete. And you can breathe a sigh of relief. So now we're going to cut them open. You can use a quick unpick. I tend to use my scissor, but to make a start for the buttonhole, the quick unpick truly is the safest option. And then I use my scissor to cut into the corners. And check your button. Yay! Fuff is great. I mean, I sing my praises all the time, but really once you've had a fuff, you never go back to anything else. I'm going to get lots of comments now saying, no, my Husqvarna, my Janome, I love them. I'm sure you do. It's all right. I just like my fuff. We can all like our sewing machines. So now when I put my button on, make sure that you go right in the corner for the cuff. Then go straight through. And I'm going to put my button on, and the key to a really nicely put on button is to put your thumbnail underneath the button while you stitch it in. That will make sure that it's not tight, because if it's tight, it's hard to do up, and also it doesn't look very nice. This way you've got a little bit of a gap, and in that gap, the other side of the cuff, which you closed where the buttonhole is, will fit in, and it'll almost like lie flat on top. There will be no pressure. So that's what you want. And you don't need gadgets for that. They just get in the way. Just use your nail. If you haven't got a nail, come on, use your whole thumb. No need to pay money for these gadgets. I've seen them on YouTube videos and I'm thinking, why would people buy this? So anyway, I'll put another knot in my thread, of course, double thread always to put the buttons on, and I'm ready to now put my buttons onto the front. And here it's slightly different. You don't go right in the top corner, but you go a little bit lower down, so about 2 to 3 millimeters off the top, not the middle of it, just a little bit down. If you are too high, it will make it all a little bit too tight. So you need to have some movement room for your buttons. So that's it. Also, what I want to say, you can see that the button here goes on possibly like a little bit more over to the left rather than sitting right on the center, so that the placket doesn't show. Now, how industry gets around this is that on the left side of a man's shirt, they very often have a slimmer placket, or they haven't got placket at all. They just turn the fabric in. You can, of course, if you decide after watching this, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do the nice placket on one side and then I just do it flush on the other. You can just turn the fabric in as you would normally and then top stitch it from the outside so that the placket does not peep out from the underneath. That's an option. You can just do that. I didn't do it on these shirts because I think it does work like this. I can cover it, and if you open it up, I think it looks really cool to have the placket on both sides. So carry on putting the buttons on. And then the top button, we go again right into the corner. So it's all done up. And now I make sure that it sits nice, and then I go right in the corner and I go all the way down, and then I put the button on in exactly the same way again, secure it, and that's it. Hooray! You can also put buttons on the tabs, of course. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. Thank you very much, guys. Bye.